Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Arborist Growth Partners podcast. And today I am super excited to have George Trott with me. And I'm going to look to my right hand side to make sure I get this right, of Trott Tree Consultancy over in the UK. How are you doing, George?
Very well, thank you, Graeme. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you here, actually. And you're the first international superstar on the podcast. So it'd be really interesting to see how things are done over in your neck of the woods versus here in North America.
Awesome.
But first of all, that question that I ask everybody is in your opinion, what's the difference between tree service companies that survive and those that thrive? What are the key differences that make that happen?
Oh man, there's there's so many things you could go down for this answer. But for me, and what seems to be working for me is maintaining curiosity,
Oh.
which itself is quite a broad answer. But if you've got a company that's when you start, you're really into everything. You're like, oh, there's new techniques, there's new kit, there's new technology. What's this? Some new research over here. And quite often companies lose that and they just start going into a routine and they're like, well, this has worked. We're going to keep doing this. We're not worried about that new tech. That's not affecting us. We do tree surgery. We don't worry about AI and things like that. And it can very quickly bring the company down. And once you're out of the routine of being curious about new things and integrating new things into your business, it's very hard to start again.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, because we were just talking that you're quite young and you're successful, and you've won awards as well for for growing at a young age as well. So that would be really interesting to dig into.
Yeah. So my business has been going about 2 years now, and we do all aspects of arboricultural consultancy, primarily focusing on tree safety and risk management and planning applications, and, protecting trees during development. And it started like a really long time ago though. So when I first left school, I was working on a holiday park. I didn't really know what else to do, but I already worked there on Saturdays and thought, oh great, yeah, I'll carry on working there. It's a fun place to be. And it probably still is the most fun place I've ever worked. It was great. But one day there was a tree surgery company on site. So it's a tree work. And I was like, I'm going to go up and see what this is about, because I don't really know what tree surgery is. And you go up there and there's guys swinging around the trees, chainsaws hanging from them, lopping branches off. And I was like, this is cool. Yeah, this is what I want to do. You're 18 years old. Who doesn't want to do that? So I started looking at my options and ultimately joined a local landscaping firm who was sort of the biggest and most well-known in our area. And they had a small tree team. They didn't do lots of it, but they were like, yeah, we'll take you on. You can work in the landscaping as well. When we do tree stuff, you can develop into that area. And, so I accepted that. That went really well. Very quickly running teams on the ground, which is really cool. Getting to do what I was planning to do all along, tree surgery, and also being involved in landscaping and grounds maintenance. It's really cool because then you see trees from a different perspective, which is particularly useful nowadays when you're consulting on them. And so that went from strength to strength. Eventually I came off the tools to go into the office as a site supervisor, learning to do quoting and running jobs from that perspective. And that just developed further and further until we eventually started an actual formal department within the larger company. So I then became the department head, ran the department and had a number of teams under me, including apprentices. That again went strength to strength and was really good. But I really wanted to do consulting by this point. I'd gone out to enough sites looking at reports to price them. I didn't quite understand always why we were doing such works, because I didn't have any real formal theoretical ARB knowledge at that point. So I started studying full time while working. So it was very much, working in the office or part on the tools throughout the week, and then every evening and every weekend, books, computers,
Interesting.
studying. Yeah,
That's tough.
yeah, that was very tough, but worthwhile. It was one of those where, as long as you can see where you're going, the reasoning behind it and the justification sort of overtakes any pain along the way. That went well. Eventually qualified and started consulting while running the department. That wasn't sustainable, and 2 years ago I decided to go off on my own, start my own business, just doing consultancy, and here we are.
Here you are. That must have been a huge decision to try to do that, I imagine.
Yeah, it was huge, especially when I spent so much time and effort into growing where I was already working, and the company itself, the wider company, is huge now, and they're an amazing group of people. So to make that decision to just walk away from that was that was very hard.
So what was the driver there? Because to me, it seems easy to stay where you are. It's why on earth would you start your own consultancy?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I think I was always supposed to work for myself or own my own business, because I even remember when I was on holiday park, I really liked washing cars, but to a high standard. And the park owner used to come every week, and he had a very expensive car. And I managed to get it that part of my routine works was to valet his car every week. And I really enjoyed it. And I thought I could start my own business and do this, and I could do this all the time. And I never did it. But the drive and the interest was there. And that happened a few times over the years, when I got competent in climbing, I was like, I could do some jobs on the weekend. So I did do some jobs on the weekend for people. And then at that point as well, again, I was going, I could just start my own business. Right. I really want to. And I think this was finally the point where I plucked up the courage to do it, basically.
Entrepreneurial spirit has to be there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And then now, I don't know a lot about arboricultural companies in the UK. In North America here, we have tree service companies, we have consulting companies.
Yeah.
Now you're very much on the consultancy side of things right now. Is that true?
That's correct. Yeah. So I only do consultancy nowadays.
So what was it because of your experience that kind of drew you towards that, as opposed to going more of the, what's the word I should use? Physical work. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Well, I enjoy being on the tools, and I do miss climbing, but I've always sort of known when I was on the tools that at some point there's going to be an end to this. I'm not going to physically be able to climb commercially anymore, and sort of being aware of that was always in the back of my mind. And then the opportunity to move in the office and start studying came up, and I couldn't really see when another opportunity might arise, so I took it probably earlier than I wanted to, but I knew where I ultimately wanted to go.
Okay, that's interesting. And I'm hoping we have listeners from the UK here, so I'm curious about things like education and how you how you move from work in the office, the education you need to get, I guess, either to be doing physical work or to be a consultant. How is that? I don't know if you know about North America. How is that different in the UK?
I sort of know briefly about the ISA and the ISA Master Arborist. It's quite different. So we have practical certificates and qualifications. So they'll be using a chainsaw or climbing a tree and performing an aerial rescue. And all the different tasks relating to tree surgery have a qualification you can do. When it comes to the consultancy side, it's more about formal study. So you can go to uni to study arboriculture or urban forestry. Right. There's also sort of uni equivalents, which is the route I went. So while working full time, I studied for the level 4 and then the level 6 professional diplomas. Then alongside those, you have sort of add-on certificates and qualifications you can do. So like the professional tree inspection qualifications, an essential one, and things like the quantified tree risk assessment certificate. And then you sort of combine all these and you build up enough experience and knowledge.
Right. And these are, like I think in the rest of the world as well, there's a presence of the ISA, but particularly in North America, these are sort of ISA equivalent or UK standards.
Yeah, I mean we have the British standard for tree work, and there's British standards for construction adjacent to trees. There's a new one come out to do with underground planting cell construction and design. There are various ones, but you don't really need to follow them to get into tree surgery. It's still quite it's still kind of like the Wild West to some degree, in that you can just go out, buy a truck and some kit and go. And there's the Arboricultural Association, who are fantastic, and they have the accredited contractor, and they do also have a registered consultant award as well. But people don't seem to ask for that, particularly domestic customers. They just want a price. Can you do the work?
Same in here as well, Canada and the US. But in fact, actually, that's an interesting question, because one of the problems that we have here is some people are trying to undercut and price substantially, right? It's a road, it's a path to the bottom. Is that a similar problem in the UK as well?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Even with consultancy as well, because you could go and do the professional tree inspection certificate, get that, and or the QTRA certificate or other risk assessment methodologies, without doing any formal education, so the degrees or the equivalents, and go out and just start inspecting trees, which is fine. You've proven you can do it to a standard, but there's a lack of, or there may be a lack of underpinning knowledge there. And therefore, those sort of people tend to charge less, which, similar sort of thing, which can be a problem.
Do you have a lot of liability issues in the UK? I mean, US, for example, there's a lot of legal hurdles and things you've got to watch for. I want to say, legitimate society, maybe. Sorry for listening in the US.
There can be. I mean, if you're giving advice, you definitely need professional indemnity insurance. And that's where some people fall down. If you haven't got someone that is a legitimate consultant or a legitimate tree surgery company that has an employee that's gone down that route, there's every chance they may not have the right insurance. But other than that, you can sort of just get into it quite easily.
Which is not a bad thing, I guess, as long as you try to elevate yourself as professional.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. It's about being professional. Even when you go through a tough time, maybe you might have a spat where there are a lot of people in your area that are undercutting, but I feel like any company in that situation just continues by their values, stays professional, and doesn't sort of lower their standards, they're ultimately going to come out on top. It's just playing the longer game.
So what sort of services do you do over in the UK? I kind of imagine it's going to be similar, but I guess UK is different in some way than it is here.
I mean, in terms of consultancy, you use generally lots of tree safety, tree risk management, and tree health. But it's different, I think, to what you guys have, in that we don't have, we have a lot of pests and diseases, but not in the same way you guys have, where you're constantly having to do routine treatments and a periodic checkup. Oh, is this treatment working? No, we'll inject something else. I mean, injecting things into trees is quite rare in the UK.
Because we were talking about plant healthcare services here versus there, right?
Yeah, and it's so different. We don't have it that much. There are a few people, and I have a bite infusion kit, and just because I needed it for a job, and it probably comes out 2-3 times a year, because it's just not really the done thing here yet. I think it will be, but right now it's not really how we work.
And I was also asking you about company sizes as well, because I had the impression that there are a lot of smaller companies in the UK, whereas again in North America they tend to be small but then grow fairly large.
I mean, it's quite easy in the UK to get a group of 3 of you, form a really effective team, and provide an absolutely fantastic service.
And you said 3 was the ideal number, though.
3 is a great number.
Why is that? Brilliant. Well, I'm curious.
But if you've got 3, one of them's the owner, you've really got a climber, a groundie, and the owner can flicking between everything. So they might go there, get them set up, go off, price a job, come back, help with clear up, that
Okay.
sort of thing. Or if you're doing, a real big takedown, two people on the ground is particularly useful. Or you could have two in the tree if it's big enough. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting because, a lot of people we speak to, they have a lot of people on the ground and maybe one or two people in the tree,
interesting.
and maybe one group, one crew over there doing that, one crew over here doing a similar thing. And of course, you got the redundancy with equipment as well, if
Yeah,
for breakdowns
yeah.
and things like that. And I forget, maybe I was talking to somebody who said to me, "Oh, it doesn't work like that in the UK. We're all tiny, tiny, small little companies."
I mean, yeah, there is a lot of smaller companies,
Mm,
and but equally they seem to grow quite well up to about 10 people, and then that,
mm,
from what I've seen, then becomes sort of like the limit for a while until they manage to surpass that. But then when they surpass that, they just go.
mm.
And there are a number of big national companies around now, which is quite cool to see. They're a good thing to aim at.
If you were to, I mean, you're a consultant, but if you were to aim on one thing that's super important for things in the UK, and wanted to start my own tree service or consultancy, and I had some experience, what would that thing be?
Ooh. I am going to go a bit left field, but also a bit boring. I think,
Sounds good.
yeah,
Not a problem.
yeah, I think, as boring as it is to say right now, because everyone's saying it about everything, utilize AI. And I think tree surgery
Oh,
companies don't want to do or don't see the value in that so much because they're so hands on, which makes sense because, ChatGPT can't prune a tree, but you can
not
do
yet.
a lot with it. Yeah, exactly. So, for example, something I'm working on at the moment is, consultancy is a lot alone working the majority of the time. So we've got to be quite careful with our guys or our guy, I have one employee, not guys,
Mm,
but got to be careful that when they're getting to site, they're working safely, and when they leave site. They also need to have the option to get in touch with you quickly or pin their location and send an emergency call out. And they also need to be able to do risk assessments on site, which you can't do from the desktop. You can say the generic risks will be X, Y, and Z, but when you get on site, you've got to climb a fence to get in. Actually, the bank's fallen away, or there's something. So they need to be able to not only complete that risk assessment, but also submit it so that, in the office, I can check it and go, cool, we're good to go, or no, we need to hold off for the minute. So where I'm getting at is using AI. I've built my own mobile app and software, which cost me
mm.
£25 to build. And now, now we've solved that problem. So, the same thing can be done by any tree surgery company. Rather than spending so much money on software that does the same thing, but you probably
Mm.
pay thousands of pounds a year for, you can just make it yourself in 30
Right.
minutes.
Small applications that help you solve a problem,
Yes,
low
yeah,
cost.
exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
We, yeah,
How else are you looking at using AI? That's an interesting conversation.
yeah, I use it a lot. It's really good for
Uh-huh.
interpreting data.
Hmm.
It's really good for fact checking your thinking. You can sort of say to it, I want you to act as whoever and be extremely harsh. Is my thinking correct? And it can
Mm.
go through it and pick it apart and just make you feel terrible, but then also tell you how to get better. It's particularly good for workflow management. It's just, yeah, a lot of the things that you can do yourself, but you might go, I'm going to spend an afternoon analyzing this data. You can train the AI
Mm.
to do it for you in minutes, and then you check it, boom, you're happy. You can move on to doing something else.
So I guess what I'm hearing is if you're using AI, it could help you to scale your operations with less people more efficiently,
Yeah,
maybe
definitely,
more
definitely.
more jobs through the pipeline, perhaps.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, AI means you can do more work as one person, so you don't necessarily need to hire so quickly for those roles. But if you were a
Mm.
tree surgery company and you're the owner, but you also pile on the ground and you're quoting and you're running around everywhere, the more you can streamline that and have something working in the background performing certain tasks for you, the more time you've got for winning more work to hire more people and have more crews. So
Right.
it swings and roundabouts in terms of job losses and job
Right.
creation.
Right. I know this is going to sound really strange here, but do British people use CRMs?
They do.
So we
Yeah,
talk a
they
lot
do.
about, customer data, CRMs, that kind of thing. I was curious, on the stance there, how you utilize CRM maybe with your AI and organizing your jobs and being
Yeah, I
efficient
mean,
through that way.
you can effectively, if I mean, definitely for a smaller company, not for a national company. For a national company, I'd still say unless you're particularly good with
Mm.
it, you would better off subscribing to a CRM system that exists. But for a real small company, you don't necessarily want that big overhead to start with, and you just want to get going and being as efficient as possible because those first few years are the hardest ones. So
Mm.
you could build one yourself that does what you need it to do, even if it gets you going for the first 5 years or so. And then when
Right.
you get to a larger size and you're like, right, this now needs to be better, then you can move into an existing system. But it's giving you that boost
Mm.
that maybe, I don't know, but maybe some companies, that's what they need to just get over the bit where they're stuck at the moment.
I actually love what you're saying because, like I said, we were in Miami last week at an agency intensive, and there was a lot of talk about how people use software and how people use AI and so forth. And there's so many things that you can spend money on that are so expensive, subscription services and software that are 10 times more than you need.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, we create, like I said this a couple of podcasts ago, we create our own software internally to streamline our systems. Hopefully they'll grow with us as well. Save money, save subscription on something we don't need.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
almost hearing that, an arborist company almost needs to, or maybe they should have a technology department or something. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone recently on LinkedIn. They do tree surgery and they do site clearance, and they've started utilizing drones for surveying the site that needs clearance
Oh.
because then they can provide this
Mm.
ortho mosaic map to their site teams, and they
Mm.
found that's way easier to work from than the traditional CAD drawing.
Okay.
So I was like, that's
That's
quite
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't seen tree surgery companies do that before. So yeah, you might be onto something there.
Well, I mean, technology is everywhere,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm always talking to people about, streamlining things, particularly with their customer data as they grow. That's why, hence my CRM question. Um, but again, like, particularly with AI, if you can streamline some of your processes effectively,
Yeah.
and you might not know how to do that, but somebody does,
Yes.
bring it
Yeah.
into your
Exactly.
company. Yeah, interesting. So, what what sort of consultancy do you actually do then? I'm curious what UK actually needs.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So a large part of what I do is a tree owner or a company that owns multiple trees and multiple sites. They have a duty of care towards people that may be affected by the trees that they manage, and so they do periodic sort of health, condition, and safety inspections. So you go
Mm.
to the site, look over the specified trees, check their health. Do they need any work? Are they likely to pose an increased risk to surrounding targets? And if so, what should we do about it? That's a large portion of what we do. Then the other sort of main work we do is planning related. So it will be someone's put a planning application in or is going to put a planning application in. And we go to site, map the trees, map the root protection areas, various attributes like that, put it on a CAD drawing, carry out an impact assessment. So, how is the proposal likely to impact the trees? And the trees, the proposal. So shade's the big one. If you're planning to build a house on some land you've got, you don't want to build it in a location where it's going to be constantly dark. So
Mm.
you sort of map that as well on a plan, and then advise on that throughout the development. So you don't want to just sort of walk away at that point, which is often what happens, not through choice, but they go, cool, we've got plan permission, we're done. But ideally, you want to stay involved throughout the development because once the tree protection fencing goes up, it just sort of gradually inches closer to the trees occasionally. So, your periodical checks is essential. And also if stuff comes up. So there's a really interesting project I'm involved in at the moment where it's in a city centre, and that city was bombed into oblivion in World War II. So we didn't really know what was under the ground, but we knew it needed a lot of excavation. And we were finding bomb shelters, bomb fragments, massive stockpiles of asbestos that were buried there. And it effectively turned out after the war, they dug a huge pit, bulldozed everything into it, and just put a 10-inch layer of reinforced concrete over the top and started again.
Wow.
So where the roots were going was just anyone's guess. And it was, it's really exciting and interesting, but absolutely nightmarish.
That's insane. Yeah, those are problems we don't get over here too much. And where do you I don't know if you can give away this secret, but how do you as a company starting off get work? Is it just a network of people, or?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate in that at my previous employer I built quite a good network, and because I was doing consultancy there, I already had quite a lot of contacts, and we parted on amicable terms. So they're actually now a client of mine. So that was really fortunate and has helped. But oddly, I have a lot of success with just approaching people on LinkedIn. It sounds ridiculous, and everyone gets annoyed when you get a message and you're like, why is this person messaging me out of the blue? But actually it's quite effective, particularly if you're active on there and they can see actually this person's quite passionate about this.
I think LinkedIn is an interesting one because the cold outreach thing is awful, but if you have a premium LinkedIn account, it seems like it's a lot easier to connect with people and share that professional level that you have. It's almost expected,
Yeah, and I've also had, since I've decided to be really commit to it and be quite active on there, I've actually had people approach me and go, "Oh, I didn't know you worked in that area.
Okay.
We really need someone.
Right.
Can we have a chat?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Go and meet them, have a coffee and discuss it, and then end up working for them. So I found it almost works passively as well to some degree.
And the people on LinkedIn you meet, are they looking at you as a homeowner, or are they organizations that you predominantly consulting for?
I really target people I try and connect with. So I'll be like, oh, I really want to do more planning related work, for example.
Yeah.
So I'll start sort of targeting chartered architects, landscape architects, developers, and then when you go to that developer, you can look who works there. So you're like, well, there's a director, there's the head of land and planning. I'm going to connect with them, and if you're quite clever with it and just spend maybe 10 minutes extra than you want to spend, it can pay dividends.
So I'm hearing that to be successful when you're starting off, you've got to figure out your ideal client persona. Really.
Yes, yeah.
Who you want to work with, who you want to target.
Yeah, 100%. I learned a long time ago in that you can be extremely busy, but with poor clients, and it's not sustainable. And ultimately, you don't make a lot of money, and you get a lot of stress. Whereas if you can work out who or what your ideal client is and purely go after them, once you get going, it pays itself back really well, because you're only doing jobs you want to do, and you're only working for clients that work within your budget range. And
interesting. And then it's still kind of cold outreach, isn't it, through LinkedIn? Is it a relationship you build over time before you guys start working together, or is there immediate demand?
Yeah, it does vary. Sometimes you sort of message someone and you talk to them briefly, and they're like, "Yeah, we need help now." And you go, "Oh, perfect, let's do this." Whereas others, you talk to for a while, you may interact on some of their posts and vice versa, and it also depends on the industry. There's quite a lot of them I've crossed over with at events, and I'm like, "Oh, cool, they said they're going to that. I'll arrange to meet them there for a drink."
Oh, okay.
So then you meet in person, but that's you've got to be kind of lucky with that.
Although networking in person could also be could be a good thing. Maybe not for a tree service company that's doing the physical work, but for a consultant, presumably you're you're trying to build relationships more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, you can also make it work as a tree surgeon. So
Okay.
so if you've got, again, it's about finding your perfect client. So say your
Hmm.
perfect client was a property management company. Well, property managers have property management associations and they hold conferences. So
Right.
just go to the conference and then suddenly you're in
Right.
a room surrounded by all your perfect clients. And then
Good
you just talk to them.
idea.
And if one person or one company out of that entire conference starts working with you, it was worth going.
Yeah, and word of mouth spreads.
Yeah,
Do a good job.
yeah.
Maintain, be professional. Maintain. Interesting. So where else do people find you? I'm really interested in this.
So yeah, most active on LinkedIn, to be
Most
fair.
active on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm on there a lot. But yeah, I'm also on the usual places like Instagram and so on. I have
Mm.
my website, which I'm currently changing lots of things on. But so one of the things I'm currently building is my online training platform. So
Mm.
there will be courses on there people can go on and do with a like a quiz at the end, and then you get a certificate if you pass the
Tell us
quiz.
about that. Reason I ask is we had Chris Comer on the other day, and he's doing something big over here,
Yeah.
helping people pass their ISA certification. I'm curious what you're doing now.
Mine's not quite as impressive as his. His sounds amazing. His really sounds cool.
But
So
it will be.
mine's yeah. So mine is aimed at lunchtime learning, and
Uh-huh.
it came about by so property managers at property management companies. They have to deal with managing trees, but they don't really know much about trees, and they're
Mm.
probably not that interested. But they do need to know something. So I thought, well, if I could make an online course that they could do in their lunch breaks over a couple of days,
Mm.
with a quiz at the end to check their learning, that would be really helpful for them. And then that sort of expanded into, well, this could just be for anyone that likes trees or is interested in trees, um, to make use of lunch, because I feel people either go into one of two categories at lunch. They either go for a walk somewhere to get outside, or they stay in front of their computer. Well, those
Yeah.
that stay in front of their computer could be doing something really
There you
productive at
go.
that point.
So that actually, originally you put this together for property managers, which is your ideal client
Yes, yeah,
profile. So there's you thought outside the box here. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yes, I did.
Educated property managers, they get to know you, then potentially work with you as a consultant as well.
Exactly. Um,
Smart.
yeah, I was thinking that. I'm just hoping it
Mm.
works. But yeah, I've basically finished it. It's just the final touches, and then
Mm.
that will be going live, which will be
Oh,
cool.
cool. That's cool. And will that be something that regular folks like me can find as well?
Yeah. So once I've
Open to
actually got it
everybody.
live, I'll be putting it everywhere. It'll be all over LinkedIn. It'll be over Instagram.
Oh,
I'll be
cool.
sending links out left, right, and center.
Send me the information. We'll be sure to link to you.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That would
awesome,
be really
awesome.
interesting. And I'd be very curious as well to talk to you in the future about that and how that's going as well. Because
Yeah, I'd love
I
to.
think once you dig into it, you probably find more ideas to expand it ultimately, I guess.
Yeah, it's so difficult because I was like, I'm going to launch it with 4 courses.
Hmm.
Be like, what courses are they? The tree world's huge. There's so many subjects it could be on, and all would be
Hmm.
equally valid to be the beginner ones. So it's going to be huge eventually.
So what did you start with in the end, the first
Um,
four?
there's a specific one at property managers. So it's how to manage trees for property managers, their obligations, that sort of thing,
Hmm.
and also guidance on picking good tree surgeons or getting the correct survey, because
Hmm.
you don't necessarily need a full inventory survey on a residential estate, but I've come across some property managers that think they do, and they're spending so much more money than they need
Hmm.
to. There's one on deadwood because I'm particularly passionate about the value of deadwood. So it's all about the ecology of deadwood, things that live on it, how to utilize it safely in the urban environment, that sort of thing. There's an introduction to tree biology. So for those that are really wanting to learn a bit more down
Right.
that route. And I think the final one, I was toying between a few. I think I ended up going for an overview of tree surgery operations for homeowners, so they know what they should be getting and what they should be
Hmm.
asking for.
I'm curious about the property managers then. So they're not necessarily educated in how to look after trees on their.
No, so
Huh.
their role is it's often in England. It is all of Britain, but primarily England. There's a real problem with local councils can't afford to take on all this open space that developers are creating. And so out of that came property management companies that say, okay, cool. Well, it's not going to go to the council. We'll adopt it and we'll manage it on behalf of the residents, but they pay us a service fee.
Right.
And so it's those sort of companies, and the people that are the property managers, they're not just managing the open space. They've also got sort of communal buildings, parking spaces, and so on. So they're sort of like an overall general site manager.
It's sort of like a homeowners association that we have over
Yes,
here,
yeah, like what you
I
guys have.
guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but they have a lot of liability issues to contend with.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's the same in UK as well. And if you don't know, particularly with tree risk, if you don't know that you have a tree that is a risk on a property that you manage, you could be in for some problems, I imagine.
Definitely. But also there's the polar opposite where, because they don't necessarily know that much about how to manage them and what trees do and don't do or are supposed to do, it's very easy for them to get led by sort of vocal residents
Right.
who are going, this is really dangerous, this is going to fall on my house, and they can sort of be pushed into undertaking works that just aren't needed.
Okay, right. That makes sense. I was curious as well about the awards that you had won. Tell us a little bit about that, because it seems to me like you went into the industry at a fairly young age and you've been making it happen.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I just like coming in and doing cool tree stuff, and then that sort of passion stays, and I guess it shows and it gets picked up by people. So I was one of the winners of the Pro Landscaper magazine 30 Under 30 in 2020, which is a really good time to win it because it wasn't a good time for the planet.
No, I was going to say middle of a pandemic, I think, if I remember.
But that was really cool, and that's sort of the same around that sort of same few years. The company I was previously working with, we won a lot of awards too, and it sort of spiraled from there. And then now I start on my own. I have those previous contacts, and we're currently up for an award now. So the ceremony and results is the end of April. So now very much fingers crossed, waiting to see what happens.
That's amazing. And what are you thinking of the future for your company? Do you have plans?
Yeah, so I started it with the intention that I only wanted to work on my own. I was just like, I'm going to be sole consultant, go around, do lots of cool tree stuff, living the dream that way. And then that's very quickly reached that point where you have to make that decision. You're at the crossroads where you're like, either stay like this, but keep losing people, win new people, lose people, and I'll probably be fine until I retire. I'm making enough money. Or I could take people on and grow the team and just keep winning stuff rather than turning it away and rather than losing existing clients. So I sort of and ahed, and I decided to build a team. So that's where we're going now. So we've got
Growth.
Growth is where we're going. Crispin starts in 2 weeks' time, and then the aim is basically to hire a new person every year for the next 5 years, and then go from there.
That's exciting for sure. What about just moving on a little bit here? What about some of the mistakes you made and things you've learned? Is there any sort of advice you could give people that are starting off?
Yeah, so I've used this story a few times when I've been chatting to people. It's not a huge mistake, but there's a lot of lessons from it. And the more you sort of read into it, the more you're like, oh, you also shouldn't have done this, or you should have done this. So not long after I launched, I won a job, basically the opposite end of England from where I am. So I'm right down the bottom. This was right up near the Scottish border, which, to be honest, by Canadian and American mileage isn't very far.
It's a short drive.
yeah, it's a short 12-hour drive. So I decided, well, I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to subcontract it because I've just started. I'm just going to do it. I can take on the world. It'll be fine. So I booked a flight and I flew up there, which sort of domestic flights aren't such a common thing here. People don't do it so often. And particularly down here, they're very limited. So this flight happened twice a day and that's it. So I had to leave at like, I think the flight was 5 a.m. But the airport's a 2.5 hour drive from home. So I actually started about 2:30, 2:45 in the morning. And the return flight was supposed to be at 7:30 in the evening or something like that. So my plan was fly up there, hire a car, drive to site, do what I needed to do, off-hire the car at the airport, sit and write the report on my laptop while I wait for the flight, fly home. Slightly long day, but it is what it is. And it was going to be fine. So I booked work in the following day. I had a really busy the rest of the week. Yeah, it's going to be great. It did go well until I got back to the airport and then the flight was cancelled. And because there isn't many flights around here, there wasn't anything I could do. So I ended up sat in the airport / sleeping on the floor in the airport until the early hours when the plane actually showed up. So by the time I then got back and drove for two hours home again, it ended up being a 26-hour day, which then meant I only had 2 hours till I needed to be on site. And it was stupidly a site I booked in following the flight day where it's restricted access and security is really tough. So you have to show up at the specific time you say and the specific vehicle you say, or you're not coming in. So I basically came home 8, went back out again to this site, did that all day. So then by the end of that second day, I was just a zombie. And then it takes forever to recover from that.
The whole week was shot.
Yeah, the whole week was gone.
So planning.
Planning, not trying to do it. I could have just subcontracted that and life would have been great. But I didn't because mistake. And yeah, it was, not a big mistake, but lots of good lessons.
Yeah. And I imagine, though, particularly when you're starting your consulting practice, it's difficult to subcontract and trust people. You feel like you should be the one doing the work, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because when you first start, you've got this fear of, will I get enough work to keep going? And when you win something, it's very much like, this is mine. I've won this. I've overcome that problem. I'm going to get this money in for this job. So the idea of sharing that work and that site contact potentially with someone's terrifying.
But you got to let go of the reins sometimes, especially if you want to grow. That's the only way you can do it, right? And
that's sort of like the big lesson, really, is now I have a subcontractor in the north, so when I get work up there, it just he does the site work, I write the report. It's a really good relationship, and that will continue even as I grow because we're right down south. So realistically, I'm not going to employ someone up there unless there's a significant amount of work coming my way.
Yeah, makes sense. It makes sense. Okay, last question. This one's an important one, and I'm asking you because you're over in the UK. I'm curious. Probably say, well, no idea. I'm curious if you read any books that you would recommend to people who are starting out their business.
Yeah, cool. So I really like a book by an author called Bob Watson. It's on Amazon. I can't remember a full title, but it's Trees, Their Biology, Cultivation and Management, something along those lines. That, if you're trying to learn more about trees, the best book you could buy on the market. For like £25, it has everything you need, really.
Okay.
Fantastic book.
And did you read any books on business at all?
Yes, yeah. So I say read. I often listen to them because I spend so much time on the road. All my reading's now listening. There's one I'm currently listening to by a guy. I don't know if he's well known in America, called Rory Sutherland.
Doesn't ring a bell.
He's got a really cool book called Alchemy, and just genius. So you listen to it or read it, and it really changes the way you think about overcoming problems.
I think I've read the book. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll look up the both of these, put them on the show notes as well, so people can find them. That'll be cool. Excellent.
Awesome.
All right, well, we're coming up to the top of the hour here, as usual. I would love to chat more, but hopefully we can have you on again in the future, and you can tell us about your growth and also about your education, portal as well. That would be really interesting. And I think what's interesting about this episode is that you're in the UK, and I'm hoping that this will be valuable for people over there who want to grow some sort of tree surgery or consulting service. Where can people find you if they want to reach out?
Cool. Yeah, I mean, please do reach out. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Come find me on there. Connect with me, chat with me, send me cool tree pictures. That's basically what a lot of my content is cool stuff I find when I'm on site.
Do you have what's your LinkedIn tag?
Oh, it's like just George Trott.
Okay.
Yep, you'll find me on there.
And your website is gtrottreeconsultancy.co.uk, and you're also on the usual places like I think I'm actually following you on Instagram now. So
yeah, I think I did see you pop up. Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah, all the usuals.
Yeah. And you're based down in the southwest of England, right?
Correct. You
said Devon, I think you said.
Devon, yes.
Yeah. Do you sort of work solely in that area with the occasional job near Scotland, or you're everywhere?
So we go everywhere. I mean, I will go wherever someone's willing, but typically we're sort of Birmingham south. Anything south of Birmingham, including Birmingham, is typical.
Great, cool. George, thanks so much for joining me today. It's once we got our internet problems sorted out, man. It's been a fantastic conversation.
Thanks, Graeme. It's
truly appreciate you. Yeah, truly appreciate you being here, and hopefully we'll speak to you again soon.
Yes, that'd be great.
Take care.
Cheers.